I am out today over at my mom's house. So I call this the main farm. My mom was on the generational farm that my great-grandparents lived on, my grandparents, my mom and dad. My dad passed away in 2004. My mom still lives here. And just as much as I do at my house in the flower beds and gardens, I do at mom's. And so today I thought we're gonna plant a tree peony because I've been holding off and just need to put it in the ground. And then we're gonna do a quick garden tour because why not, right? If you've followed along with me, you know my love for tree peonies. Now this is a small start, but they're gorgeous. They have more of a trunk and a woody stem than herbaceous peonies, the ones we're used to. But they get larger and they get huge flowers that are so fragrant. So look at this one. They're just tree peonies. There's no different, there's nothing else other than just tree peonies, and look how beautiful they are. And those colors really are as vibrant as they look. So I have my hole dug, and what I'm gonna do is put some biotone in it. I like to put this in anything that I'm planting because it just helps the roots really take hold and have a good start. So I'm gonna put this in here. Then I am going to take this out. Now, with tree peonies, just like normal peonies, you wanna make sure you don't plant them too deep. So you're gonna notice how they're grafted, which means they're put onto different rootstock. So they're usually put on herbaceous peony roots, but then they have this tree peony on top. So what I wanna do is make sure to keep this exposed because you don't want to submerge that graft in the soil. That would be too deep. It would really be hard on the plant and possibly over time just kill it. So what I'm gonna do is plant it, leaving it just as it is here in the ground, and then we'll go on with the tour. Okay, the peony's planted. You can see I made sure to keep that just above that graft, which is exactly what you want. That's gonna be the best for the plant. So these can get large, they can get 3 to 4 foot, if not slightly larger. And they always will have a woody stem and kind of an umbrella-like canopy. They usually work in zones, 4 to 9. So they can take some pretty cool, but also go a little bit more southern in the States, which is kind of nice. So gorgeous. You will never regret planting a tree peony. So it's threatening rain. So this may be stop and go, we'll see. But things are looking really good right now. And this is one of my favorite times in Mom's garden because I put in a big, beautiful perennial bed. Oh, it's been probably 5 years ago now. And I really re-landscaped and reworked her yard, starting with this bed and wall. So let's kind of look what it's looking like. So this bed is really expansive, and I put it in about, like I said, 5 years ago, and it started with a limestone low wall that I really wanted to kind of break up and terrace the yard slightly with. So this wall runs quite a ways along this end of her, what I call the east lawn. And what it does is, it really is the original place that there was a wooden fence on the farm. But over the years, it just really broke up the yard, I feel like incorrectly. So I put in that wall and then planted a beautiful perennial bed. And I'm gonna be honest, perennial beds are always hard for me and I felt uncertain about them, but this one has really grown and it's really become something I love. So I have a mixture of textures, of foliage, of color, and things are just beginning to bloom. So I have lots of peonies, herbaceous, Ito, and tree peonies, even some poppies in here because I want to bring in elements that Mom loves. Mom loved her poppies, so we kept those. We have lots of, I believe these are Globe Master Allium, one of my favorites because it has that big, beautiful flower. And look, I love how the Globe Master Allium just kind of pop up all down. We have lots of ornamental, or also called turkey rhubarb, which is one of my favorite foliages. There are garden phlox that are coming. The geranium is just about to bloom, that hardy geranium. And then I do have green velvet boxwood every so often. So even over the winter, this has some structure and some color. Look at this lupine. I don't usually often have good luck with lupine, but this one is beautiful and it's in its 3rd year and it is doing super well. So also what I have is not only small varieties of allium too, but one of my favorites is Schubertii, which is not even fully open yet. So these big columns here are Taylor juniper. And why I love them is they really bring the entrance down into what is the orchard. It's a new orchard I planted a few years ago. So it's just coming, but it's really a gorgeous entry down into here. All along here though, you can see there's an Ito peony just about to bloom, more turkey rhubarb. There's even some Caradonna salvia coming, Baptisia. So all these different elements kind of are like, to me, different players and different singers at different times in the garden. And it's one of my favorite aspects of it. I love the different blooms coming. So it takes a few years for this to fill in, and it has taken quite a few years, but it really has been one of my favorite things to watch. So Kip is gonna lead us up these steps, up into the east lawn, as I call it. And up here is kind of just a nice, beautiful, expansive lawn. And I say that because I think it's really important to have areas of just green that break up than with areas of flower beds. So you can see at the end of this lawn, this is where I have a hedge of green mountain boxwood. And those really cut the horizon and just have this nice entrance to what's down below. I just really love how it plays on each other. Coming up from that east lawn are 3 repeating beds of an antique urn with an agave. You've probably seen me plant these. And then they have different allium in them. These are summer blooming allium, different than the bulbs of the big purple flowers I just showed. These bloom late summer, kind of late July or August. And I have Summer Beauty in the back. And then I have Millennium in front. And the pollinators love them. They have winter interests because they're seed heads. The flower heads turn to seed heads. And they just kind of stay there all year. And then I do have some boxwood again, green velvet, just to kind of set them off. But what I really love is how you get this expanse when you come up on these 3 repeating beds. So it's like something you're used to when you're looking and walking, and yet it has something with visual interest too. So you can see these beds really have the same type of look, but then as you're walking up, it just has this nice kind of repeating feeling. So these trees here, they're gonna at some point be kind of a small alley of trees, and they're all celebration maples. So they'll get tall but upright forming, which I really like. Come on, Kip. So up here at the beginning of this lawn, this is one of my favorite views because you see all 3 of those flower beds and then the wall down below with the flower bed beyond. And it's kind of this hidden gem. When you get down there, you find it. It's kind of like a secret garden. That's what I really love about it. In general, you're probably noticing what I really, not what I'm gonna say my goal was, but what I realize I do is really try to re-envision what a farm yard can be. You know, I grew up on a traditional farm. I'm the 4th generation to live on our farms. And I really, for some reason, have had a goal to reinvent them. I believe an area can be redesigned, re-envisioned, even when you're in a rut. So for me, it was really opening this east lawn up and imagining that it could have been almost what feels like a stately home at one time and what feels like it had a story and a history. So that's what these antique elements do. That's what architectural salvage does for me. You can see beyond those 2 architectural salvage columns at the end of the yard here is then a big cast iron column in the orchard. And what that is a piece of architectural salvage from a building in St. Louis at one time. And I put it up like a statue almost. So at areas in the yard, you have these sight lines to these pieces that feel like they have a story and have history. And that's really what I slowly try to do, is create a yard that has stories to tell, but you don't know what they are necessarily. So it's creating new stories, and that's really what this side of the yard has been envisioning for me, and it's been really fun to work with. And just, I don't know, it's one of those things that, no joke, like one day I feel like I was sitting here looking at it and I was like, what if we ripped out the fence, put in a limestone wall, and slowly from that over the years, it's been changing and evolving into really what it's become, which it will keep changing. That's what a garden does. Let's also have a quick side note on something I know you're gonna see, and it's these arborvitae. And yeah, they are dead. They were really bad winter burned, needle desiccation. Some of them were, you know what, 5, 6 years old, 12 foot plus tall. And that's just part of what gardening is. It can change year to year and you don't always know what to expect, but guess what? I now have a chance to reinvent that hedge along the road. So I have some ideas and thoughts on how that will be done. So just one of those things. We always have something new to do. So when you get into Mom's front yard, this is her front porch where she spends a lot of evenings in the summer. This is kind of just a nice, a little bit more formal mix of textures. We have Bobo hydrangea, we have the all gold Japanese forest grass, and then green mountain boxwood, green velvet boxwood. So in the winter, there's always something green and vibrant here. But then in the summer, these colors take off. In late summer, these hydrangeas will bloom, and everything is just full and lush. And then this leads you over into the new bed I put in just last year. So when we're walking over to this new bed, that is where I live, just beyond, kind of across the road. So I always say it's very close because it is. But this bed, one, kind of shields this backyard from the road, but it also just gives me another chance to kind of play with some different perennials and shrubs. And that's what I'm really excited about. So all the daffodils now and tulips have kind of faded away, and all their greens will soon be dried off. And when they're dried off, I cut them and get rid of them, but they're not quite there yet. So in back, we have a lot of firelight hydrangeas, Sun King Aurelia, and then Culver's root, which is a beautiful flower that's more native. And so it does really well here, is somewhat drought tolerant and really holds up to the elements. But what I like here is the play again. Now, all this was just planted last year, so it's a real play on textures here. We have that Again, that Sun King Aurelia, which has that chartreusey bright yellow color. In front, I have some blue ice Amsonia, which is blooming right now, but why I plant that is for fall interest. It has gorgeous color in the fall and really does well. Again, it's a native, so it just is a really happy plant in Iowa. As we work on down the bed, you can see the wind is picking up, so it might start raining, but this is an urn I planted recently, and I elevated it on a limestone plinth like you know I love to do because it just sets it off. So when you're in this backyard and you're on the back patio, you really can see this urn and notice it, and it has a stately presence. Again, I have textures with the turkey rhubarb. I mean, look how big. This one is only 1 year old. This is literally 1 year old right now, and look at that massive, I can put my hand on it just so you can see how big one of the leaves is. And then the undercolor, oh, when it blows in the wind, I love that. So it really has a play, and these will all get much larger. So we're gonna have like 5 foot at least, tall and wide with this hydrangea, which will be gorgeous. And as we get to the end of this bed, I have a big, not a big yet, but it's gonna be larger, a nice 3-flower maple, which is just a fun tree to have back here. And I had some bulbs planted, some fritillaria, some allium. This is actually the Gladiator variety, not the Globe Master. So it's a little bit earlier blooming and slightly smaller flower, but just as beautiful. But you can see this bed to me is a really fun one to have in the backyard. And the Techni arborvitae has just the perfect hedge and backdrop to give it, you know, that nice green hue, but then set off all the colors. So the reason in Iowa we plant lots of rows of arborvitae and things is for windbreaks. So beyond this is just the expanse of open sky and field. So you really need this. Okay, that's a quick garden tour. We planted a tree, Peony, so we know in the future there's even gonna be more beauty to see. That's to me the fun of it. As always, I'll keep showing you different parts of the garden at different times, what's blooming, what looks really good. I think these areas at Mom's right now, this is one of my favorite times in her yard for these areas, because both these perennial beds just are gorgeous. So hope you're inspired, hope you're excited. That's the point. I always tell you this, but as always, when you share these videos, it helps me so much, but it helps everyone see each garden is different. It takes time, it takes effort, but it always pays off, and that's the point. So as always, share them around so people can see that, but also check my website, wyseguy.com, for tips, for tricks, for recipes and more. It's all on there. Now, I'm gonna try to get in before it starts raining, but I'm glad for the rain so I won't complain. Hope you get some rain too.